All right, here we are. Part one of this was this morning, and it's about 11 minutes. I talked about, what an echo chamber is, and the fact that an echo chamber is a place, a community, a group of people, whether it be religious or academic or social or what have you, that our ideas, our values are just embraced and adopted collectively to where it feels very safe. You feel very seen. You feel, almost to the point where from the inside, the deepest sense of belonging that could possibly be there. All right, because you share values, share words, language, everything. And there are concerns with this. And I talked about that in part one. We're having some technical issues, so I had to put this into part two. So here's a review. You get this warmth, you get this embrace, but you don't get the truth. You don't get consistency in depth. You just get yourself reflected back to the point where now the chamber and its ideologies become your identity. That's an echo chamber. So it does some things to the self, and I'll repeat myself here on that. It does some things. It causes damage, but not the obvious kind. Because the echo chamber doesn't feel like you're limited in that, because you're being understood finally, right? You don't have to explain yourself or prove yourself or perform per se. And that's a real emotion, that's a real feeling, that's a real experience because it's genuine, but it's not honest. Because an echo chamber cannot provide genuine development of the self. Why? Because a self, to be true, has to have dissent, has to have contention, has to have different ideas. If you're in your faith and you're not willing and able to deal with other ideas, then your faith isn't genuine in the sense of it being being true to you. You're not even willing to think, and much less try to prove to yourself that what you believe can stand up. If you're in a political standing and you're not even willing to converse about the alternatives, then you're not in a genuine place. You're in an echo chamber. And the same thing goes on and on and on. We're all in them, and we substitute these chambers for acceptance, etc. And so if you're in one, I talked about this in the first video, you can actually run some tests. Are you able to show up with a different opinion? Are you able to speak out in a polite way? And in doing so, know that it's a safe place to actually get feedback or pushback. And you may or may not, you either may change your mind about something that you believe, or you may also strengthen what you believe. Either way, in these communities, these echo chambers, if you're not able to do that, you're probably in an echo chamber. If you're not able, you're not able to come and bring a truth. Maybe you come in, but you don't ever talk about this, or you're not vulnerable here. It's always a niche. Then you're probably in an echo chamber, because if you were to bring something else in, it would be considered a threat. If you would have a change of idea or a variance in doctrine or opinion, you could be seen as a threat. So what happens there is it begins to solidify this echo chamber as your identity, because you keep seeing yourself reflected back. There's just no questioning. There's nothing that actually helps you grow, because reflection and questioning, even what you would consider dogma, if you don't question it, you don't know it, and you can't defend it. And because you can't defend it in the context of real life as a human being, you can't defend it in your own mind. You can say, I believe it, nothing's going to change my mind. That's not true. That's not a real belief. That's bracing with the inability to have your humanity engaged, much less your identity, especially when you build an identity around that type of thing. So in the time I have left, I want to focus on, let me make sure this thing is going here. In the time I have left, I want to focus on what do you do when you find yourself in an echo chamber? Okay, so the first thing is there's an alternative. And a lot of people say, well, I'm just not going to get into a community. I'm not going to be a part of anything. I'm just not doing anything because I don't even want the frustration. Well, that's not the way. Absence of community is not humanity either. We want to find one that holds genuine difference, that holds debate, that holds encounter with perspectives that are not already our own. One in which belonging is organized around something more durable than shared framework or shared commitment, like honesty, or a shared willingness to be changed by genuine encounter, or shared respect for the individual identity of each person in the room, even when that identity disagrees with the community's majority view. And the alternative to the mirror identity is not the isolated identity. It's the identity that has been genuinely tested, and that has encountered serious disagreements and not dissolved in it, and that has held a view in the presence of intelligent challenge and either found that the view held for good reasons or discovered that the view needed to change or grow or develop. That knows the difference between its genuine values, and borrowed ones. That has sufficient internal ground to be in a room where it's not reflected back and still know who it is. This kind of identity does not require the continuous validation of a community to remain intact. It can be in a room of people who see things differently and remain present and curious and authentically itself. Not unchanged by encounter, because genuine encounter always produces some change, but not dissolved by it either. The ground is internal, and internal ground does not require the echo to remain true and sound. So we're not asking whether you should have community. You need community. It's whether the community you have is developing your identity or substituting for it. And that question, asked honestly, is one of the most useful diagnostic tools available for understanding where your sense of self is coming from. So there you go. We need to figure this out, and we can walk the path. Now, I'm probably going to do another video of this same thing with a little bit more elaborate focus and teaching, but here we are for today. I'm James. This is Unbound Freedom for Life.